From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Do opioids have a hold on Arizona? Lawmakers, Border Patrol, and immigration officials discuss what can be done to stop the epidemic.
Before you dive in, do you really know what's in the water? What you can't see that could land you in the hospital.
Arizona students traveled to Washington, D.C. for the Scripps Spelling Bee. Hundreds of competitors from across the United States, but only 50 students made it through to the finals today.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Maya Petros.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. Thank you for joining us. The House and Homeland Security Subcommittee held a hearing on the opioid crisis in relation to the United States having an unsecure border.
Reporter Emily Richardson attended the hearing to see what the state of Arizona is doing to combat the crisis.
Governor Doug Ducey testified at the hearing today, only one day after he ended the formal emergency public health declaration he issued last year because of opioid addiction and overdoses.
We have certainly made progress, but we know that the fight remains deadly and that it is far from over.
According to Governor Doug Ducey, that progress includes policy initiatives in the Arizona Opioid Epidemic Act, like improving access to treatment, enhancing medical education for all professions that prescribe or dispense opioids, and enacting a Good Samaritan law. However, in Arizona, more than 1,200 deaths during the past year are suspected to be opioid-related. Congresswoman Martha McSally believes part of the problem lies with the country's unsecured borders.
The overwhelming majority of drugs, maybe as high as 90%, that enter our country come through the nation's ports of entry. In order to mitigate these illicit pathways, we must secure the border and strengthen our postal system.
Another concern is that China is producing fentanyl in large quantities and smuggling it into the U.S. through the postal system. But McSally says law enforcement and border security will never be enough to end the opioid crisis.
We cannot enforce our way out of this problem. We must also tackle the crisis with treatment and recovery options that help restore individuals to health and break the cycle of addiction.
Governor Ducey also recommended an almost $3 million expansion of the Arizona Border Strike Force in the state's annual budget to help detect and deter drug smuggling. In the Broadcast Center, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is dedicated to covering the opioid crisis in Arizona and nationwide. Our documentary Hooked RX, From Prescription to Addiction, highlights the problem of painkillers here in our state. You can watch the documentary and find resources for getting help online at hookedrx.org.
The government has created a task force to fight the opioid crisis. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says that pills are cheap, covered by insurance, and easy to prescribe. Statistics show opioids take the lives of 115 people each day. Secretary Azar calls it the worst drug crisis in American history.
The rising supply of these addictive pills has combined with lack of addiction treatment capacity to create the worst drug crisis in American history.
The government's new task force focused on the opioid crisis and finding better ways to manage pain met for the first time today. The group is scheduled to meet again tomorrow for 6 hours.
Terminally ill patients who have exhausted existing options now have the right to try new treatment opportunities. This morning, President Trump signed the Right to Try bill. The measure gives terminally ill patients the right to use experimental medications that have not yet been approved by the Food and Drug Administration. The president spoke about the Right to Try legislation a few months ago during his State of the Union speech. Today, he said the law offers people some hope.
We are finally giving these wonderful Americans the right to try. Thousands of terminally ill Americans will finally have the help, the hope, and the fighting chance, and I think it's going to be better than chance, that they will be cured.
One of the biggest supporters for the measure has been Arizona Representative Andy Biggs. Right to try laws exist in some form in 38 states, including Arizona. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen returns to Arizona tomorrow. She'll be making a couple stops at the border, as well as meeting with several county sheriffs. Nielsen was in Arizona just last month, touring the border with Governor Ducey. During that time, she called the situation at the border a crisis, claiming there's an unknown number of people and drugs coming into our state.
As the Senate primary gets closer and closer, Arizona politicians continue to file their petitions in order to officially join the race for the United States Senate. The latest to submit their signature is Representative Martha McSally. She says her time as representative has allowed her to build a good relationship with the president.
I'm honored to be at the table, and I look forward to continuing to partner with him in order to address the highest priorities of Arizona's.
McSally is running to replace Senator Jeff Flake. Also in the race on the Republican side, Kelly Ward and former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. On the Democrat side are Representative Kirsten Sinema and Debra Aboud.
The deadline to run for governor ended just a few minutes ago. There will be 3 Democrats on the ballot. David Garcia, who spent most of his life in public education, State Senator Steve Farley, who's been working in government for over a decade, and Kelly Fryer, who is the CEO of the YWCA Southern Arizona. Governor Doug Ducey is expected to win the Republican primary. Now, Arizona's primary happens on August 28th. For the next month, expect to see 5 billboards inviting Arizona teachers to work in Texas. The billboards went up this week along Valley freeways and were paid for by the Fort Worth Independent School District. The message tells teachers that their future is in a Fort Worth classroom, and the starting salary is $52,000. The district says the billboards are simply a recruiting effort to find good teachers. Now, the billboards come a month after Arizona teachers walked out of the classroom for 6 days, demanding higher pay. Arizona lawmakers then approved a plan to hike teacher salaries.
Summer is a great time to go swimming, but there are some precautions you should take before getting into the pool. Reporter Amanda Mason takes us on a ride along with the Maricopa County Environmental Services Department.
Now, invisible bacteria and parasites can be lurking in the water. So how do you know if a pool is safe to swim in? Well, the CDC reported that 1 in 8 pools had problems so serious the pool had to be closed immediately. But there are a few steps you can take to make sure you and your family are safe. During the week, environmental health specialist Kelly Alderman inspects pools all around Maricopa County.
If your skimmers aren't working, then you're still swimming in that floating substance.
The inspection is more than just testing the water. Alderman is checking water flow, main drains, the surface of the pool floor, integrity and size of the gates, and the pump valves.
If someone accidentally leaves the vacuum valve open, you've got suction. It's a very powerful suction, like it will suck your hand in there.
Experts say that one way you can keep you and your family healthy is by taking a shower before and after you get in the pool. One of the common parasites found in pools is called Cryptosporidium, and it can survive around 10 days in chlorine-treated pools and is hard to test for.
So crypto can be incredibly contagious. You only need a few particles of disease to make you sick. So it can be easy for people to catch, but not necessarily easy to detect in pools because it only needs a few particles. So if you sample in one area of a pool, you might not pick it up, but you might find it in a different area of a swimming pool or recreational body of water.
Crypto is from fecal matter that gets into the pool. Experts say if you feel sick, don't go swimming for 2 weeks.
The way you get these waterborne diseases is by ingesting them or swallowing them. So it's really important when you're swimming that you don't swallow any water. You remind your kids that water is not for drinking. If it's pool water, that's why they have a bottle of water next to them to stay hydrated.
For parents with babies, health specialists say change their diapers away from the pool and wash your hands before you get in. Experts recommend that you check the pool before you get in it. For example, is the water clean? Can you see the bottom of the pool? You can also check the Maricopa County Inspections website to see if your local pool passed inspection. In the broadcast center, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
Cochise County officials are reporting a sharp increase in wildlife rabies cases. This year, officials have seen 15 cases of rabies, primarily in skunks and foxes. The average number of rabies cases has increased to 40 per year since 2016. To keep your pets safe, county health officials recommend vaccinating and keeping pet food indoors to avoid drawing wildlife to your home. Earning a high school diploma is a journey most of us never forget.
But for some, that achievement can be a difficult one. Ahead on Cronkite News, a process that was well worth it, how some adults persevered life to get that diploma.
Plus, out with the old and in with the new, why it was Demolition Day at the ISM Raceway.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland, in Washington, in Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
Stories of fresh starts for graduates are not unusual this time of year. As Allison Snell reports, these adult graduates are sharing stories not only of fresh starts, but of second chances.
Walking across the stage at Queen Creek High School to receive a diploma has been a dream for many of these adults pursuing their education. And it's the first step that many say they're taking on a path to a new life.
I'm originally from Mexico, but I came in here like maybe 25 years, 30 years ago to better life, better work.
These adult education students are taking big strides as they walk to receive their high school diploma, but it didn't come easy.
It's hard when we have to work and go to school and take care of the kids, and it's very hard.
It's challenging. I have no family, so doing things by yourself, it's tough.
Graduates came face to face with harsh realities that gave them motivation.
I had a son, and I wanted to better my life for him.
All this about because my family, my wife, and my kids. That's my only passion.
They aren't planning on stopping here.
I'm studying aesthetics right now, but I do plan to go back for nursing because, aesthetics is skincare, but, nursing is just a building block to get further where you want.
I try to get more education, to get more English, like writing, and because I'm very bad at writing. I got a long time to go.
With big plans ahead, they remember the struggles they're leaving behind.
They're in situations where they have people to guide them and tell them this is what you need to do and this is why, but then there's people like me who don't have that.
Lessons learned have given the graduates more insight into their future.
I can help anyone in any way, even if that's just talking. I'll do that because people need that.
Queen Creek graduates range in age from 18 to 80 and are from many different countries. Some graduated with their high school equivalency diploma, some were induced into the Honor Society, and others received certificates. In the Broadcast Center, Allison Snell, Cronkite News.
A University of Arizona professor has been elected a member of the National Academy of Sciences. Carol Barnes is a professor of psychology and neurology. She's one of the world's leading experts on brain aging. 84 new members were elected into the National Academy of Sciences. Barnes was the only woman. An Arizonan.
The Scripps Spelling Bee has drawn the largest number of competitors in its history.
Over 500 students made the trip to Washington, D.C., hoping to become the nation's top speller. Coming up on Cronkite News, the field has dwindled. How many Arizonans made tomorrow's finals?
And our temperatures are climbing here in the valley, but just how high are they going to get? Stay tuned for your full 7-day forecast.
This is my last broadcast as the anchor man of the CBS Evening News, and that's the way it is.
Carrying on the baton of those who came before us, our superb team of journalists, writers, reporters, editors, producers work each and every week to tell the stories critical to you. For Arizona news that matters, tune into Cronkite News weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
The Hurricane Maria death toll in Puerto Rico is nearly 70 times higher than originally thought. That's according to a new Harvard University study. Government reports put the death toll at 64, but according to the Harvard report, the actual toll is over 4,600 deaths. Researchers studied the time between the day of the storm on September 20th and December 31st. The report attributes most of the deaths during this period to the power outages and blocked roads that prevented access to proper medical care.
Another national forest is closing large areas because of dangerous wildfire conditions. The Prescott National Forest is about to become the 5th forest to close some land. This Friday, hiking and camping areas near the city of Prescott will be off limits. The Coconino, Kaibab, Tonto, and Apache Sitgraves forests already have closures due to dangerous dry conditions.
We've been seeing triple digits most of the week, and that first 110-degree day is right around the corner.
Lauren Sheeler is in the Weather Center with a look at this week's forecast.
Well, we're currently sitting at 99 degrees, high thin clouds, nothing too serious wind-wise. But if you're already getting sick of our warmer summer temperatures, you might want to take a trip to one of our neighboring states. We saw beautiful temperatures along our west coast, 60s in San Francisco and Los Angeles. You could also head up north. We saw 80s over in Colorado. But taking a look at our temperatures for our state, we had some nice temperatures as well. We had 81 up in the Grand Canyon. Otherwise, down south in our southern part of our state, we still are seeing triple digits. We did see 99 down south in Tucson, 83 out in Show and 99 out west in Yuma. But we are in store for an excessive heat warning. Now, this is going to be effective daytime this Sunday. You're going to see this play out in our 7-day forecast coming up. But what this means in the meantime, you have a couple tips. One, you need to be drinking more water than you think you need. And then secondly, if you're planning on driving this weekend, you're going to want to inspect your vehicle before you head out. A lot of highway fires have actually been started by vehicles dragging along scrap objects. Now, to our 7-day forecast. Will our heat be kind to us these next couple of days? Unfortunately, we're going to see these numbers continuing to climb in our highs. We see 109 on Sunday. That's our effective heat warning taking place. And then those highs are going to continue to stay warm, but we're going to stay optimistic because our lows are still in those upper 70s, and we're going to cling on to those for as long as we can. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Lauren Sheeler.
It's day 2 at the Scripps National Spelling Bee, where the competition is getting intense. The field will be narrowed from the hundreds who started the day to just 50 who will advance to the finals tomorrow. Cronkite News reporter Danny Coble is in our Washington bureau, and she's been following the Arizona students in the competition.
That's right. Those students took the stage today to answer words everything from angularity to Zendo. But if there was one word to describe the scene today, that is nervous.
Round 3 began this morning with students getting one word to spell and one chance to advance.
MISDEMEANANT, misdemeanor.
Cocopa Middle School 6th grader Max Greenspan got that one right.
I had no clue what word I was getting. I was nervous to see what word I would get, like if I would know it or not. And I was getting nervous up there, but then when I heard the word, I was like, okay, I think I got it.
The spellers were given 600 words to study for today's competition, and some of the Arizona students were up to the task.
CALZONE, calzone.
ANGULARITY, angularity.
BLIGHT, blight.
Others were not so lucky.
Ozendo.
Dyspeptic.
Catholicism.
While some spellers broke down when they were eliminated, Chandler 7th grader Daniel Wu was taking his elimination well and already looking ahead.
Well, I'll definitely try next year, and I hope to come back here.
After today's onstage competition, surviving students faced more anxiety as they waited to hear if they advanced to the final. That was determined by today's spelling and their score on a 24-question written test taken Tuesday morning.
I hope I did really good, and I hope I represented the whole state. I hope I really get in the top 50.
Unfortunately, Kelly and other Arizona students will not be advancing on today. The numbers were released, and those 4 did not make the cut. In Washington, Danny Coble, Cronkite News.
Next on Cronkite News, it stood 13 stories high.
And for 30 years, it was part of racing in Arizona. But today, the checkered flag was waved for an iconic race tower out in Avondale.
I like working for Cronkite News because it gives us the opportunity to find a different angle on the same stories that every other news outlet is covering across Arizona. As students, we have the opportunity to cover issues in all across the state of Arizona.
It gives me a good chance to sharpen my skills, improve my skills, learn the techniques in a newsroom and in the programs and teamwork and technology, getting me prepared for the real world. And at the same time, I think we do a great job, make some great stories, do great journalism for the city of Phoenix and state of Arizona.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
In your middle to late 40s, you might want to consider getting a colorectal screening. The American Cancer Society now says colon cancer screening should start at age 45, not 50. The new recommended age is for people at an average risk. High-risk communities, including African Americans and Alaska Natives, should get screened even earlier.
There may be something to say about the whole walking and chewing gum at the same time thing. A new study in the Journal of Physical Therapy Science says that there are health benefits to chewing gum. Researchers report that people use more energy while chewing gum and walking. Chewing gum can help people lose weight, cope with stress, and stimulate circulation, according to the research. And it was Demolition Day at ISM Raceway in Avondale. The 30-year-old 13-story race control tower was demolished. It's the next step in the track's $178 million renovation project. The track's officials said the removal of the tower is one of the last big milestones in the nearly 2-year revamp currently underway. New grandstands will occupy the tower's former location. The renovations also include a new race control center, a new starting line position, and multiple upgrades for fans, including Wi-Fi at every seat. Racetrack officials said that the project is expected to be completed in time for a NASCAR race this November.
Another major championship sporting event could return to the Valley soon. On the heels of last week's announcement that the 2023 Super Bowl is coming back to the desert, NCAA officials visited Phoenix today as part of the bidding process for men's basketball Final Four set to take place in the middle of the next decade.
We're very interested in what the city, the community, Glendale are all planning for the future for this event, and really excited about what the potential would be. We had a great experience here in 2017.
Study done by Arizona State University's W.P. Carey School of Business. When Arizona hosted the 2017 Final Four, the event generated over $320 million in statewide economic impact. Locations for the 2024, 2025, and 2026 Final Fours will be announced in July.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, hear about an organization that helps kids who are undergoing chemotherapy. And we'll learn about new treatments for skin cancer, including the use of nano robots. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. Faced with a choice, two brothers take different paths when charged with a murder they say they did not commit. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.